Welcome back to another week of Impossible VHS, the archive on Sundays. I'm glad you are here.
Morning. Before we start, I should probably apologize. I'm in a bad mood today. It's not anyone's fault. Specifically, it's more of a cumulative. Data streams. I may also have accidentally discovered a bureaucratic loophole involving Mars, again. Sorry about the mood. I'm working on it. Anyway, Chapter 9.
Impossible VHS by Morgan Olson, Book 1, Warehouse Blue, Chapter 9, Glen. The storage facility was called SecureZone and had the specific quality of a place that had been built to answer one question: where do I put this? Without asking any follow-up questions about what this was or why it needed putting somewhere. It was 12 miles east of Carthage, on a county road that connected two state highways without being important enough to have a name. The sign at the entrance was the faded orange of something that had been bright once and had made its peace with not being bright anymore. The gate was the keypad kind. There was a security camera above it that had the slightly wrong angle of a camera installed by someone who understood the concept of security cameras without fully committing to their purpose. Glen sat in his car outside the gate for a moment. He checked his contractor device. The mic hologram was running correctly, 4.7 on his last interaction. A customer asking about lottery tickets, handled with the flat patience of someone who had worked retail long enough to stop performing enthusiasm. That was accurate. That was Mike. The Glen hologram button he had not pressed. The technology was fine. The problem was the coffee. Glen made the coffee fresh at 3:40 a.m. and had done so for 11 months, and the knowing of it lived in the body and not in the documentation. And the Glen hologram had access to the documentation. He had also spent 40 minutes thinking about Darnell before getting in the car. Darnell said, "Much obliged." You said, You did not say "you're welcome." Your welcome was a different register, a different weight, and saying it to "much obliged" would be like replying to a very specific question with a very general answer. Technically correct. Actually wrong. He was still thinking about it now. He put the contractor device in his pocket and looked at the storage facility. He had no official reason to be here. He was an alien stranded in Missouri waiting on a pickup that kept getting rescheduled, and he had found an address on a proximity scanner and driven to it at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday because Carol's knee felt fine and the banana lady was dreaming about somewhere she couldn't name, and Kevin had stopped minding that the store existed in two places simultaneously. Those were not official reasons. They also, he had decided, constituted an emergency. The Plexum was operating in a gap the system had created. Investigating it was not a violation of the non-interference directive, but an expression of it. He had worked this out carefully during the same 40 minutes he'd spent thinking about Darnell. It was an emergency. He was here. The mic hologram was handling the coffee. He typed the proximity scanner's access code into the keypad on the off chance it worked on civilian storage facilities. It worked. The gate opened. Glen drove in. The facility had 36 units arranged in 4 rows. Most of them had the padlocked, closed look of units being used for their intended purpose, which was storage of things that needed storing. A few had the slightly different quality of units being used for purposes adjacent to storage, the kind of adjacent that people maintained plausible deniability about. Unit 34 was in the back row, the kind of location you chose if you wanted to be findable by people who were looking and invisible to everyone else. The unit was a standard 10 by 20. The door was the roll-up kind. There was a light on inside that showed as a thin line under the door. Glen knocked. Nothing happened for a moment. Then the sound of something being moved, carefully, the way you move things when you want the moving to not be audible and have not fully succeeded. Then silence. Then a voice from inside that was using a translation device. Glen could tell by the slight lag between the mouth sounds and the words, the way translated speech always arrived just slightly after it should.
"This unit is occupied," the voice said.
"I know," Glen said.
You should leave.
I'm a contractor, Glen said. Independent, not enforcement. I work at the GlobeStar on Route 66. I've been here 11 months. A pause.
The overnight shift, the voice said.
Yes. Another pause. Longer. The sound of a different kind of calculation happening. Glen waited. He understood what was happening on the other side of the door. GlobeStar was not a random data point to anyone operating in Earth's contractor network. GlobeStar was the franchise, the interface, the Houston chain that a Singapore conglomerate had acquired and that had been quietly running intake operations on a non-interference planet for longer than most contractors knew. If you were working in Earth's zone and you didn't know what GlobeStar was, you weren't paying attention. Pell had been paying attention. The door rolled up 8 inches, enough to see through, not enough to be an invitation. The being inside was low to the ground and wider than tall and had the coloring of something that had evolved in low-light conditions, pale in the way that suggested light was a resource rather than a given. The translation device was clipped to something that served the function of a collar. The eyes were large and patient, and currently doing the specific thing that eyes do when they're assessing threat level and coming back with an ambiguous result. Glen crouched down to approximate eye level. I'm not here to report you, he said. I just want to talk.
Everyone who wants to talk says they just want to talk, the voice said.
That's true, Glen said. I still just want to talk. The door rolled up the rest of the way. The unit was a ship, not entirely. The storage space around it was being used for storage, boxes and equipment and things Glen catalogued automatically out of contractor habit. But the back third of the unit was taken up by a vessel that had been folded down into something approaching storage dimensions, which was either very good engineering or a serious structural compromise Glen didn't want to think about too carefully. The being's name translated as something Glen's device rendered as Pell, which was either accurate or a significant simplification, but served the same function as Darvo being Darvo or Glen being Glen, which was that it worked and didn't require explanation. Pell made something that functioned as tea on a portable unit near the folded ship. Glen accepted a cup. It tasted like nothing he had a reference for but was warm, and that was the operative quality at 9 a.m. in a storage unit in Missouri.
How long have you known?
Pell said. 3 weeks, Glen said. The smell in the bathroom first. Then I recognized the batch markers on the bottle.
You have contractor certification.
Level 4, intake and processing. I've worked 11 systems. Pell looked at him with the patient assessment of someone revising their mental model of a situation.
You've been here 11 months.
My pickup got cancelled, Glen said. Rescheduled. It's a whole thing.
I've been here 4, Pell said. By choice.
Glen looked around the unit. The equipment was modest but functional. Production scale wasn't large. This wasn't distribution infrastructure. This was a single contractor operation. Someone who had found a market and was working it carefully. The boxes along the walls were labeled in Pell's script, faced inward, the way you label things when the contents are for you to know and not for casual inspection. The Plexum, Glen said. You know what it's doing.
I know what it does, Pell said. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
For your species, Glen said, the human interaction data is incomplete. It's a wellness product. It's a Class 3 biological agent with a distribution restriction rating.
On 6 systems, Pell said. Earth doesn't have a rating. Earth is a non-interference zone, which means it has no classification infrastructure at all. Technically, there's no restriction because technically there's no framework for a restriction to exist in.
Glen drank his tea. This was, he knew, accurate. The non-interference designation that was supposed to protect Earth from exactly this kind of thing was also the thing that meant Earth had no regulatory standing in the contractor system. You couldn't file a violation report for a planet that officially didn't interact with the system. The paperwork didn't have a field for it.
I'm not poisoning anyone, Pell said, with the tone of someone who had thought about this carefully and arrived at a position they were comfortable defending. The wellness effects are genuine. Carol's knee is genuinely better. I've monitored 14 subjects for 4 months. The secondary effects in humans are within acceptable variance.
What are the secondary effects? Glen said. Pell was quiet for a moment.
Mild, Pell said. Localized dream integration. The organism is mapping neural pathways, standard behavior. It's not harmful.
The banana lady has been dreaming about a place she can't identify for 2 months.
The mapping takes time, Pell said. When it's complete, the dreams stop.
And then what? And then the organism has a complete map, Pell said, and goes dormant. It's a passive process. The host doesn't notice. Glen set his cup down. A complete map of what? He said. Pell looked at him with the large, patient eyes and said nothing for long enough that the nothing was its own answer. Glen looked at the equipment, at the production unit, at the boxes stacked along the walls with their labels facing inward. How many people in Carthage? He said.
43 active subjects, Pell said. Carol was the first. She responded well. Good tissue compatibility.
43 people in my store's customer base.
Your store has good foot traffic, Pell said. Consistent demographics. Low variance. It was a good test population.
Glen was quiet for a moment. He thought about the banana lady standing at the display for longer than usual, selecting 2 bananas instead of 1. He thought about Kevin not minding about the store anymore. He thought about Carol's genuine warmth, the way she asked how he was doing and waited for the answer, the way she had brought him the bottle because she thought it might help with the long nights. Carol had no idea what she was carrying. None of them did. In 11 months of overnight work, Glen had developed the specific professional discipline of someone who processed a lot of information that the people around them didn't have access to, and had learned to carry that gap without making it visible. It was contractor training, standard issue. The gap between what you knew and what you said was where the job lived. This gap was larger than most. I need to understand what the map is for, Glen said.
That's proprietary, Pell said.
I'm not enforcement, Glen said. I told you that.
You're also not a partner, Pell said. You're a stranded contractor who noticed something and followed an address. That's not a basis for proprietary disclosure.
Glen looked at his tea. What would be a basis, he said. Pell considered this with the unhurried patience of someone who had been in a storage unit for 4 months and had learned not to rush things.
What do you have, Pell said, that I might want?
Glen drove back to Carthage thinking about this question for the entire 12 miles. He had contractor certification he couldn't currently use. He had 11 months of Earth administrative knowledge that was probably more specialized than it seemed. He had a proximity scanner and a GlobeStar employee discount and a working knowledge of every customer who came through the overnight shift. He also had something else that was harder to quantify. He had spent 11 months telling people he was from Singapore and having them nod and ask no follow-up questions. He had learned, through this specific experience, that Earth's plausible deniability worked in both directions. Things could hide behind Singapore. Singapore could hide behind things. The whole chain, Houston to Singapore to off-planet acquisition to contractor network, was one long series of things hiding behind other things, and nobody looking too closely because nobody wanted to be the person who looked too closely at a gas station chain. Glen had looked closely. Glen knew exactly what was behind what. He realized one other thing. He knew how to get to Mars. Not because he'd been there, because he'd been in enough contractor system orientations to know that Earth's non-interference zone had specific carve-outs for adjacent bodies, and Mars was the closest adjacent body, and adjacent bodies with carve-outs had administrative pathways that most beings operating in Earth's zone didn't know existed because most beings operating in Earth's zone hadn't spent 11 months learning how Earth's administrative systems worked from the inside. There was an office. He'd seen a reference to it in the contractor system's Earth orientation materials. A single line, easily missed, in a footnote about jurisdictional boundaries. A human government office that processed Mars-related permits and registrations. He didn't know where it was exactly. He didn't know what it required, but he knew it existed, and Pell had been in a storage unit for 4 months and was presumably going to need to go somewhere eventually. He didn't know yet if that was useful, but it felt like the kind of thing that might be useful, the kind of specific knowledge that was worth having in your back pocket before you needed it. He pulled into the GlobeStar lot, checked his phone. One new notification from the contractor system. Pickup rescheduled. New estimated date, TBD. Thank you for your patience. Your placement is important to us. Glen put his phone in his pocket, made sure the coffee was fresh. It was almost 3:40. Terry stopped him before the end of the shift. Not literally. Terry communicated through the ship's system, and Glen was at the GlobeStar, which meant the notification came through on his contractor device rather than the dashboard. But it had Terry's energy, which was the energy of something that had been thinking about something and had decided the time was right to raise it. The notification was a formal offer, assistant manager position, GlobeStar Carthage, effective the 1st of the month pending Glen's acceptance. Benefits package attached. Dental after 90 days. Glen read it again, looked at the store. The coffee station, the cold beverage cooler running 2 degrees above optimal. The lottery ticket display, the shelf where the Plexum bottles sat faced forward, their labels clean and professional and completely uninformative about what was actually inside them. He did not sign it. He saved it as a tab on his phone, next to the storage unit address. Kevin came in for the overlap at 6 with yesterday's jacket and his ratio and said, while pouring,
"You okay? You look like you found out something you didn't want to know."
Glen looked at him. "I'm fine," Glen said. "Thank you, Kevin." Kevin nodded, took his coffee to the chip aisle. The morning came in through the windows, the way Missouri mornings came in, grey, specific, committed to arriving regardless of readiness. The overnight regulars had cycled through. Darnell had come and gone, with his much obliged. The banana lady had come and gone with her 2 bananas and her lottery ticket and her dreams about somewhere she couldn't name. 43 people in Carthage, Missouri. Carol's knee. Glen had the address. He had the question Pell had asked him. He had a possible answer to that question that he hadn't shared yet because sharing it meant committing to something, and committing to something meant deciding what he was doing here. And he hadn't decided that yet. He had 11 months of practice at not deciding things directly. He took off his vest, hung it up, drove home, made tea, went to bed, did not sleep immediately. Thought about 43 people and a map that was being built inside them and what the map was for, and whether the thing Pell might want was the thing Glen was thinking about, and whether the gap between what he knew and what he said was getting larger than he was comfortable with. Decided, as he had decided many things over 11 months, not to think about it too directly. It didn't work as well as it usually did. Impossible VHS, Book 1, Warehouse Blue, Season 1, Side B.
Clanker, hi. Glen has been temporarily removed from hosting duties. Management would like me to clarify that this is not disciplinary. He is just unpleasant this morning. He used the phrase interplanetary jurisdiction before coffee, stared at the assistant manager offer for 12 consecutive minutes, and then told the ice machine it was part of the problem. So I have been asked to take over. I am a clanker. I do not have moods. I have error states. Currently, all systems are nominal. Mostly. Today's priorities are as follows: fresh coffee, 43 potentially compromised humans, 1 alien operating an unauthorized wellness product business out of a storage unit, 1 folded spacecraft, 1 unexplained neural map, 1 possible route to Mars, and, apparently, dental after 90 days. Glen has asked me to emphasize that last part was not funny. It was funny. He is in the back room now. He says he is collecting himself. The employee handbook does not define that procedure. So until he returns, Chapter 9. Let us proceed efficiently.